Thanks for joining me for this edition of the Author's Corner, brought to you by KNEO 91.7 FM The Word. I'm Roberta Foster, and today I welcome Julie Klassen to Author's Corner. She has written the book A Sea View Christmas, which is published by Bethany House, a division of Baker Publishing Group, and she'll tell you more about the book at the end of the program. And so let me tell you a little bit about Bethany. Let's try that one again. Okay, write that down. 30. There, I was trying to find the bio when I was misspeaking. Okay, so here we go. Okay. So let me tell you a little bit about Julie. She loves all things Jane. Jane Eyre, Jane Austen, and her books have sold over 1.5 million copies. She's a 3-time recipient of the Christie Award for Historical Romance. The Secret of Pembroke Park was honored with the Minnesota Book Award for Genre Fiction. She's a graduate of the University of Illinois and worked in publishing for 16 years, but now writes full-time from her home in St. Paul, Minnesota, where we've already determined it's been a bit snowy. Julie, thanks for joining me on Author's Corner.
My pleasure, Roberta. Thanks for inviting me.
Okay, so this book is part of the Devonshire Shores series, and you mentioned some of the events of that series in the book. So let's start backwards a little bit. And so tell us a little bit about the other books and how this one is connecting to it.
Great. Yeah, so the series has had 3 books in it, and you did a great job pronouncing it on Devonshire Shores, is how they say it in England, okay. And you did great. So the series has had 3 books. This novella can be read as the finale of the series, or you can read it on its own. But of course, selfishly, I hope that readers will want to read the whole story. So it's the finale, or hopefully, if I've done my job right, readers can read it just as a delightful Christmas novella with family drama and romance and all kinds of old English Christmas traditions woven in.
Yeah, good. And so what happened in the last book of the series that compels this book to be written?
Well, I think that's a good question. I think I'll answer it. It's not so much the last book, but this book really centers on one of the sisters, well, 2 of them, but the main story is about Sarah. Sarah is the hardworking, dependable sister who's been trying to keep her family together for the whole series. Her other sisters throughout the series have had their romances and have had their happy endings, but Sarah has had chance at romance and love before, but she's always turned it down because she feels like her duty is to her family. They're trying to run this guest house on the seashore, and she feels that that's her role. So we've had to kind of wait. Readers have had to wait for Sarah to have her a happy ending. So in this book, Sarah gets a second chance. There was a man, a handsome Scottish widower, who she met in the earlier part of the series, and he obviously took a shine to her, and she liked him too. But at that point, she chose she can't leave her family to run this guest house without her. She can't move all the way to Scotland, so she has said no. But she's kind of long regretted that decision, or at least long wondered what her life might have been like. So in this book, the handsome Scottish widower comes back on the scene, and she has to face that decision again of does she, say she would really, say goodbye to her family. At least back then, you didn't travel long distances very lightly. She wouldn't see them very out, maybe every few years or something. So she has to face that decision again. She thinks she knows what her plan is for her life. Maybe God has a different plan, but she's got to, maybe let go of control. Some of us really like to have control or think we have control. She has to learn to kind of give that up. So that's the main part of the story. And then the youngest sister, Georgiana, is the kind of the Spitfire, the spunky tomboy kind of a character, and she's 17 now, and she's seen her other sisters go through various heartaches. All that she's like, no, thank you, not for me. I'm never going there. So she has her first very innocent brush with romance as well, as she's trying to kind of matchmake for Sarah and get her interested again in the Scottish widower, and she ends up having a little bit of a first love with a friend, or someone she thought was only a friend. So It's a kind of a double romantic treat, I hope,
all right,
for readers as well.
Well, it is written at Christmas time, and so how do the holiday traditions of Regency-era England differ from modern Christmas celebrations? And how did you incorporate that or make it to be part of your story?
Well, thank you. I do love to research real traditions of historical traditions and weave them into the book. And I love lots of things about the Old English Christmas, but one of the things I love is just, first of all, how long it lasts. We've all heard the saying or the song, the 12 days of Christmas. But you probably know, but the actual 12 days don't even start in England until December 25th.
Yeah.
And then it goes for 12 days beyond that. And then even leading up to it, though, really it starts about a month ahead of that time with all kinds of other traditions, St. Thomas Day, St. Nicholas Day, Stir Up Sunday, where they're making their plum puddings a month in advance. So it's really they really celebrate it upright, and it's a lot of time in church, but also charity was a really big focus, far more than Christmas gifts. You might give a small gift to your children or to a loved one, but gifts were not a big part of it. It was more about charity to others, less fortunate, and also just spending time with family and friends. So there's a lot to enjoy. And yes, I used a lot of the traditions to kind of wrap around, romantic instances around them. And of course, there are things like decorating and mistletoe. We have to have mistletoe, right, in a Christmas novella, because that was harvested and put up there, just like it is sometimes today. And many of the other caroling and different kinds of snowball fights and all of that are fun to weave in as well as them doing charitable things together and attending church together.
Well,
so
as I read the book,
will enjoy that.
As I read the book, I found it very interesting to read about all the different celebrations that were part of their Christmas celebration. And so I'm talking with Julie Klassen regarding her book, A Sea View Christmas, which is published by Bethany House, a division of Baker Publishing Group. And you're listening to Author's Corner, and I'm Roberta Foster. So the setting of Sidmouth plays a vital role in your stories. What makes the Devonshire coast a particularly magical backdrop for this Christmas tale?
Well, I have long been drawn to that county of Devonshire, and I have been there a couple of times, different areas of it. But I also I suppose the reason I chose that in particular was because we know Jane Austen and her family visited there, and she wrote positive things about it. So being a Jane Austen fan, that kind of cemented it for me. But it has, the whole lovely coast and all of that going for it. But in the winter, it is more of a cozy small town, with shops and churches and candles in the window, and families pulling together and giving gifts to their neighbors. There's also a historically based, charitable school that my characters are involved in. And so I have really enjoyed getting to know Sidmouth as a real place. I've been there now, and I have connections there through the museum there, and they've helped me, with my historical accuracy and all of that. So I love it when I can take, real shops, real places in a town like that 200 years ago and incorporate them into a story for today.
Yeah. Well, and I really did enjoy the fact that this family was very kind, generous, charitable to the different groups in the town, and it was good to read that the emphasis was on others more so than themselves.
Yeah, a good reminder for me and for everybody. I think Christmas can get so busy.
Yeah.
worried about our lists and all that. But I do think they had a good focus for charity for others. Yeah.
So you mentioned that Seaview is a guest house. Now, is this kind of comparable to like B&Bs today, or what was different about it then?
Yes, it would be very similar to a bed and breakfast, so that term didn't exist.
Right.
And boarding house just doesn't have that. Has a much more of a London kind of lower class neighborhood kind of a feel to it. So Mama, my character, because my characters were originally from a well-to-do family, but after their father died, they kind of lost everything except for this house on the coast. So they come from a much, wealthier background. They've really never had to work before, but now they've had to throughout the series running this guest house. So they call it a guest house because it makes it feel a little more genteel than a lodging house or a boarding house. But yes, it would be very similar where they're letting out rooms in their house and providing meals, breakfast as well as sometimes other meals, supper as well. So, and the truth is, even though Seaview is fictional, these kinds of places were very common in Sidmouth and in other places on the coast, because the English people then and now love their seaside resorts and would love to go to the sea, not only because it was fun or recreational, but they believe strongly in the health benefits of seaside, about swimming in the cold water, about sea air. There's all kinds of old historical writings from old-time physicians talking about sending their gouty patients to take the waters or bathe in the waters. So there really were a lot of these kind of lodging places around. So there was a lot of information to go on. And even though I fictionalized it, it's based on a lot of real places.
Well, that's the neat thing about reading books set in different settings, because you, as the authors, do all the hard work researching it for us as the readers. Okay.
Exactly.
Let's talk a little bit more about Sarah and her unmerited, maybe, or sense of responsibility for her family. How was that resolved? Did the family think she was supposed to be responsible, or were they trying to help her to get past that?
Yeah, certainly when the series started, Sarah took that on herself, and she was probably the most capable and practical minded. They had no money and they had this house they couldn't even afford to keep up. So she probably was needed and did play a vital role of getting the guest house started. And at that point, Mama, the mother, was more of she was dealing with a lot of health issues. She wasn't really able to help much, and she had these other sisters who were flighty and just still kind of not on board to go from being polite, genteel ladies to making beds and serving meals to strangers in their home. And Sarah, back then, women without money were in a world of hurt.
Yeah.
They would probably have had to be, separated and gone off and become governesses or something like that. So she really did feel it was on her. But over the years, as the series has gone, some of the sisters have gotten married and they have grown and become more mature, and they have spouses that can help out as well. And the mother has improved in health and strength and is able to take on a lot of Sarah's role. So in this, over the last couple of books, they've all been kind of saying, Sarah, it's your turn. You've helped, but you don't need to. You're really, you're just like trying to hold sand in your hand. You can't control the future. You can't make sure nobody's going to get sick or nobody's going to die or that's only something God can do. So it's taken Sarah a while to kind of free her hard grip on, I'm going to hold this family together and I'm going to make this work. And the family has kind of come around to kind of support her and say, we're fine, you can go,
Yeah.
So it's a process for her. Yeah. Part of it is control. She wants to control. She's very good-hearted. She doesn't. It's not a control that comes from a bad place. She just has really felt like it's been all on her. Because we don't need to get into all the backstory, but anyway. So so it's been a journey for her, and she's she's, I think, finally able to release that. But it is quite a journey, and it's not only giving up control, but also, she's very close to all her sisters.
Yeah. And
so moving to Scotland is, if she's going to marry this man who she likes, she's going to have to move somewhere far, far away. So it's a mixed bag for her, but
sure.
She is, she has to decide if she's going to trust God and trust this good man, or if she's going to keep holding on to her semblance of control, I will say.
Okay, so in just the last few minutes that we have together, why don't you tell us what you're working on next?
Okay. Well, I just had another new book released. So this book came out in September, the Christmas book. And then just yesterday, I had a new book released. And so it's called Whispers at Painswick Court. So that one had just released. It's a standalone kind of romantic whodunit, kind of that Agatha Christie style, but still in the Regency era, set in a charming Cotswold village that I fell in love with when we visited it. And then now I'm working on my next book for 2026.
All right. So one more time, the book today is A Sea View Christmas, and I have been talking with Julie Klassen. We want to thank Bethany House, a division of Baker Publishing Group, for giving us a copy of the book to talk about. And Julie, thank you so much for being with us on Author's Corner.
Thank you, Roberta. My pleasure.
And to our listeners, if you missed any part of today's interview or would like to hear it again, you can now find it on your favorite podcast platform or through kneo.org. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Roberta Foster on the Author's Corner. Join me again next time.